College football is officially all the way back. Week 1 was full of instant classics and huge upsets. Week 2 is bound to provide just the same. I'm Tyler DeLuca, and I'm here to take you through my top 3 games for this upcoming week in college football. Look, to me, it's obvious where we got to start in Week 2 after Week 1. Colorado. The most electric show in college football so far after Week 1. Deion Sanders has this team ready to go, and they kick off against Nebraska in Colorado. Deion's home debut for the Buffaloes. They kick off at 12 Eastern, but to me, that's prime time. It doesn't matter what time this Colorado team kicks off, it's going to be prime time, and not just because of Deion Sanders, but because of the three-headed monster that is the stars on this Colorado team. I mean, when you look back at that TCU game, they were just runners-up in the national championship, and they did lose a lot. But they went to Fort Worth. After all of the turnover, we really didn't know what this Colorado team was going to look like. And not only did they win, they had huge performances to do so that has set them up with solidified stars going forward the rest of the season. Let's talk through some of these performances. First off, Shedeur Sanders at quarterback for Colorado. 38 of 47, 510 yards, and 4 touchdowns. What? That's an insane stat line, and he was incredible in this game. They needed all 45 points to win because the defense, a little shaky, but they needed all 45 points, and Sanders got it done. He talked post-game. This is the most yards I put up against anybody, and I believe him. He was hooping out there. He was cooking. It was an incredible performance from Sanders, but it didn't just stop there on the offensive side of the ball. Dylan Edwards, 6 for 24 yards on the ground and a touchdown, right? That's okay. Let's look at the receiving stats on top of it. 5 for 135 yards and 3 touchdowns receiving. That's a playmaker. You just want to get the ball in his hands. That's a playmaker. Okay? And it's crazy. It's like, you hear those two performances, and it's like, there's no way anyone can top both of those, right? Travis Hunter is not real. There's just no... Listen, I'm not the oldest person on the planet, but I've never seen anything like Travis Hunter. 80 snaps at corner, where he had an interception, a huge interception, and then 65 snaps at wide receiver, where he had 11 catches with 119 yards, and that's with a couple of missed opportunities on the offensive end as well. So there was still food left on the table for Travis Hunter, and he still did that. I mean, it's absolutely electric in Colorado right now, and I can't wait. Every game is going to feel like must-see. Every game is going to be so much fun with this team, not only because of Deion, but just because the pure, genuine talent that they have on this roster. It's going to be incredible to watch going forward. And now you flip the coin to Nebraska. If Deion Sanders going to TCU for his first game in charge is the perfect start, Nebraska had the complete opposite with the beginning of Matt Rhule's campaign as the head coach of the Cornhuskers, losing 13-10 against Minnesota. And frankly, the offense was bad. The offense was bad. I mean, they're going to have to try and find a way to keep up with Colorado, and I don't think they're going to be able to. You look at the quarterback play. We talked about Shedeur Sanders. Let's look at Jeff Sims. Threw 3 interceptions and put up only 10 points. Not good, man. It's not a great way to start, and I don't think that, at least for my expectations for Matt Rhule, it was never about coming in and instantly being able to turn this around, but it's not a good start. But a way to get this back on track is to spoil the home debut for Deion Sanders in Colorado. That's the way to get it back on track. Do I think that they'll be able to? Honestly, no. I got Colorado in this one, and I think they do it comfortably with the offensive firepower that they have. I just don't think that Nebraska can ultimately keep up in this game. I think Colorado goes 2-0 to start Deion Sanders' campaign as the head coach of Colorado, and Matt Rhule does not, starting 0-2 as head coach of Nebraska. All right, game number 2, number 20 Ole Miss versus number 24 Tulane in New Orleans. Neither of these teams really got tested in week 1 against Mercer and South Alabama, but both their quarterbacks really stuck out to me. Well, 3 quarterbacks in total really stuck out to me because of how efficiently they did their damage. Let's start off with Jackson Dart at Ole Miss, who came into the season not really knowing exactly how safe his job really was because Spencer Sanders transferred in from Oklahoma State, and he's a very accomplished quarterback in his own right. But Jackson Dart came out slinging the ball. 18 of 23 for 334 yards and 4 touchdowns against Mercer. Incredibly efficient in doing what he needed to do. But Spencer Sanders got some time as well. 8 of 14 for 134 yards and 2 touchdowns for the Oklahoma State transfer. And wow, Dart absolutely had the better performance. Dart should be the starting quarterback going forward. There's obviously still some lingering ideas by getting Spencer Sanders in the game to see what they have in Sanders. So if things begin to go horribly wrong for Ole Miss and horribly wrong for Jackson Dart, Spencer Sanders is an option there. But ultimately, I was really impressed with Dart. I think that he is going to be the guy this season for Ole Miss. But now flipping it over to Tulane, Michael Pratt, who is somebody that lost a lot of his weapons from last season due to graduation, players leaving the program. But he went out against South Alabama, 14 of 15, 294 yards and 4 touchdowns. That's nearly 20 yards per pass. That's incredibly efficient, and doing it with new weapons, new players on the offensive side of the ball, new playmakers, and doing it very, very well. So I'm really excited to see him go against this SEC defense that Ole Miss has. But while the passing was what stood out to me in week 1, I don't think that's what's going to decide this week 2 matchup. I'm looking at the running game for both of these teams and seeing who can get control of the running game, control on the ground on the offensive end, and I just think Ole Miss can do that. Let's look back at week 1 because Tulane put out 4 different running backs. Pratt also got 11 rush attempts, but nobody really stood out to me as the guy. Nobody stood out to me as the workhorse running back that's going to take them over the top in their running game. Nobody really stood out to me and gave me that feel. While on Ole Miss, they have sophomore Quinshawn Judkins, who I think, even after only just getting 13 carries, I think he can be the guy for the Rebels. He had 2 touchdowns in that game as well. Mix that in with the battle in the trenches that is going to be going on, and you have that SEC size that everyone raves and knows about. I think that Ole Miss can go into New Orleans and control the game on the ground and eventually control themselves into a victory on the road against number 24 Tulane. Well, if you know what the schedule is looking like for week 2, you're not going to be surprised by what my game of the week is. Number 11 Texas traveling to Tuscaloosa to go against number 3 Alabama. I am incredibly excited for this matchup. Almost a top 10 matchup, but not quite there. But we saw what happened last year in Austin. We saw the chaos that ensued, a 20-19 victory that Alabama survived in Austin to get that win. Ultimately, I don't think it's going to be that close this year, but I do think it's going to be a very fun matchup, and it ultimately comes down to one person for me, and that is Texas quarterback Quinn Ewers, who frankly looked against Rice. He looked pretty meh, especially in that first half. It wasn't moving me at all. The second half, he did play a lot better. But ultimately, when you're playing in Tuscaloosa against Alabama, you're not going to have the time to work your way into a game. You need to be on from the jump. If we see that from Quinn Ewers, I think that he will have the capabilities of taking the next step as a quarterback, because you've got to have these big moments, these tough moments where you're able to make your way through. And if Quinn Ewers is able to do that, I absolutely think that we can see him take those next steps as a quarterback. Now, if he starts off slow like he did against Rice, this could get nasty and get nasty quick. But for Texas, the big thing that they did last year that made everything so incredibly chaotic was the fact that they threw everything at Alabama. And when I say everything, I mean on both sides of the ball. Some of the formations that Texas were using were incredibly creative. Steve Sarkisian was cooking in that game. But on the defensive end, and the thing that I'm really excited to see if they do this year, is the blitzing. They were blitzing against Alabama last year, and they don't have Bryce Young anymore. We'll see how this Alabama offense can handle that blitzing if they do bring it back. Ultimately, though, I don't see Texas being able to go into Tuscaloosa and pull off this upset. I do think it will be a very, very fun game, though, and it is absolutely earning of the title game of the week. All right, y'all, those are my top 3 matchups for week 2 of the college football season. But let me know who you think are going to win these matchups. And if any other games have caught your eye, let me know down below in the comments why. I'll see you next week.